Alright guys, I decided to lower the Royal Enfield a little bit. The reasons are mainly because it'll look better, and also I'd like to be able to flat foot it, which I cannot currently do. I went ahead and chose the Tec Lowering shocks and with dampening, and the reason I chose these is because they said that they advertised the most potential lowering, which was 2 inches that I could find. And it comes in two versions. There's an all black version of these, and then there's these with the chrome, and I chose this because sometimes when you go all black you just kind of start to lose any kind of form or visibility, what's going on, and it just becomes a big black blob. So I wanted to keep a little bit of a contrast. In the kit, first of all, there's these are additional little spacers you can use to make the shocks longer if you want to. This is the wrench for preload on the springs. And there's 2 shocks themselves. They appear to be identical, no right and left. To extend them or retract them, there's a screw right here. Screw it out and it gets longer. There's a lock nut on here. And they said once you pick your desired length to use some thread locker in here to hold it in place. This is the preload, I'm sorry, not preload, but the dampening adjuster. I cranked it all the way clockwise to get rid of all the dampening, and then I backed it off 5 notches on both of them. I should put it about the center. There's like right around 13 clicks of dampening available. That's what it seemed like. This right here is where you adjust your preload for the spring here, and it's fully released, and that's how they say to keep it. And they do say to like when you're putting these on to put them one at a time on the bike and bounce it up and down to set it. But I was able to actually just do that myself with my hand, and I've been storing them sitting up like this for a couple days to get the oil to settle. So that should be taken care of. So in this video, there's videos of putting shocks on these bikes, and I was just gonna not make a video because I don't like redoing people's content. But unfortunately, because these shocks are shorter, you can't do it the same way where you replace one shock and then you go replace the other one while one's always hooked up. So what I have to do is kind of jack up the bike so it doesn't completely collapse while I have both shocks off, because I won't be able to put a shorter one on with a longer one holding it up. And so here is the situation I'm going to be for the setup I'm going to be using. I bought this wheel shock. They're on sale from Cycle Gear, and there was a local shop, so I just picked one up. It seems to work pretty good. They reviewed well on YouTube, so currently it's holding the bike up. It seems fine. I'm going to put a floor jack underneath the bike and prop it up. While I'm doing this, we'll prop up the frame and the engine and everything so it doesn't completely collapse when I take the shocks off. And then I will be removing both shocks at the same time and putting them both on. And we'll see if that plan works out or not. I did some pre-measurements, and I'll do some comparisons at the end of how much height I gained or lost in the rear. And so the rear part's the trick to lowering the bike, because you have to get those shocks first, and then you go to the front, which is a little bit easier. In the front, what we're going to do is just basically set it all up so we're sliding this out further, or basically sliding everything down in the front down further on the 2 forks. And what you're going to need is one of those micrometer measuring devices to make sure you can keep everything even when you're doing it. But the basic plan is to loosen up both these 2 bolts here for the clip-ons, and I'm going to loosen up the clamps here for the headlights so it can slide up and down. And I'm going to undo these screws here on the gaiters so the gaiters can move up and down freely. And then I'll be taking off these 2 bolts on both sides, taking them out, which I really don't like messing with these bolts, any of the bolts that are on the bike like this, because I feel like they're made of butter. So I'll be hitting those with a whole bunch of PB blaster before I start. And then there is another set of bolts, the pinch bolts up here I'll be doing also. Another set of bolts I don't like. On this bike, actually, one of my bolts over here on this, well, one of these 2 bolts on the other side is just, it's been frozen ever since I bought the bike. And so, but you can still, with one bolt still tight, you can still move the whole setup around. So I haven't really had any problem. Just hit it with a little rubber mallet here and there. So, but it's unfortunate, but it's what you got to do. So that's the plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, whatever I get, whatever measurement changes on the rear back here, I'm just going to transfer it to the front and add it to this gap here. And I'm also going to add another 1/2 inch because I'd like this just to be a little bit lower. So, all right, so that's the plan. I'll get back to you here in a second when I get the floor jack underneath there and start working on it. All right, got a floor jack underneath the engine while the front wheel is in the wheel chock. Next step is to remove one side of the shocks and take that out and take that off. And I should also found torque specs for these to put it back on. Apparently it's 18 nanometers, or I'm sorry, 18 newton meters, and I'll be doing that. That's the best I've found so far. So. And I'll be using a little bit of a thread locker. I've also set up the bottom of the shocks here. I unscrewed this part and put some thread locker in. I have them like wound all the way down, so there's like maximum shortness here. So I'll go ahead and get this started. Alright, this top one is a number 6 hex, and you do have to save all the nuts and bolts because the kit doesn't come with any, so you're using all the same stuff. And it's down here is a number 14 right here, and it's in this one in the back that you got to hold still is also a 14, but it feels like it's square. I think pretty sure it's like a complete square bolt, so be ready for that. So I'm gonna hold this one in place and get this one out. All right, quick update on this thing here. It's actually not a nut at all. It's part of the frame there, so no need to hold that in place while you're unscrewing the other one. All right, here's a side by side of the two. The old and the new. The old one is 14 inches from the center of the hole to here, and the new one is 13, so it looks like I'll probably get like an inch out of all this. We'll have to see what it's like when I get it on. So. Alright, I did a quick test. I lowered the bike down a little bit, and it turns out I absolutely can do one at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and just do them one at a time. Alright, jack this back up a little bit, and I guess so it fits. Alright, got the first one loosely fitted on there. I did have to use a mallet kind of to get this one on here a little bit. I didn't have to pound on it real hard, but it's a pretty tight squeeze on there. These shocks come with a metal bushing in the center, and you got to make sure you get the old one off, which I did, but for a second there I thought I was missing something, but no, it's just super tight to get it on there. Just make sure you have the bare plastic or whatever the bare nub showing here, and then everything that came with the shock should go right on there. Alright, I'm going to apply 18 newton meters of torque to the top and the bottom. I used a little bit of thread locker on them, blue Loctite. And this is actually the torque wrench I mentioned in my big bore video that I linked to. My brother got it for me for Christmas, which was very nice of him. He's my affiliate link, and I did not get credit for it, but I did get the wrench. So, alright, so that worked pretty well on the left side. I'm going to do the right side now. I like the liking the way it looks right now, the way the shock looks, so that's good. Now basically what I did, once I just used the jack here to fine tune my height to get it in correctly, so yeah, it went on super easy. Okay, on this side, the second one was under a little bit of pressure because it was being basically compressed a little bit by the force of the other one. So what I did, I undid both bolts, and then I just took this hammer in here like this and just kind of whacked it out a little bit so that it was coming out here at the top. Because down at the bottom there's some stuff underneath it. You can kind of see some cables, and I didn't want to like pull out this bolt here and then all of a sudden squash everything and break stuff. So, but it's loose now, so I'm going to go ahead and finish taking it off. Alright, on this one, when I was on the right side putting it on, it was just easier to attach the bottom first, which I did on the other one too. But when I went to put the top on, I just put the bushing on first, that metal piece that was in the center, and then I slid the shock over it because every time I tried to put the shock in, the bushing would like pop out, and it was getting super annoying. So, but it's on there. All I got to do is tighten it up. So. Alright guys, in a like for like measuring comparison, I just completed my 3 measurements I made. The shock itself is 1 inch longer seat sitting on here. And this is like for like. I measured the old shocks in the same position on the wheel chock and everything. I lost an inch of seat height, or an inch of space between the tire and the seat, and I lost an inch of space from the back of the hoop to the ground, and I lost an inch of space from the top of the seat to the ground. So it's pretty conclusive that I lost an inch here. So, and I can tell it does look a little bit lower. So we'll see the final result is. So now it's time to go on to the front. And for the front, what I plan to do is leave it in the wheel chock. Use the jack again to move the front up and down. You can see it's kind of moving as I mess with it. Move it down a little bit. So this will hold everything in place. There we go. You see it moves up and down a little bit. So I'll use that to hold it in place while I am adjusting the amount of free space shows up here on the top of the forks. Went ahead and measured with the caliper. What I have showing now is 15 millimeters, and where I measured it from is just right on the inside of this crack here on the pinch bolt, just so I have a constant standard on both sides to measure from. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and start loosening up the headlights and the handlebars and the gaiters here, so that on both sides, so that I'll have free play to move everything around. Also, I forgot to add, so since I have 15 showing here, what I'm going to do is add 24 millimeters for the inch that I'm losing on the rear. So I'll have 24 millimeters more showing up here. And then I also wanted to go down an extra half inch, so I'm going to add another 12 millimeters. That comes out to basically almost exactly 2 inches and 2 millimeters. So right around 2 inches I'll have showing up here. And then the bike should be evened out. Alright guys, I got everything loosened up. Everything's hanging freely, everything's able to move up and down. Now it's time to do the pinch bolts. These are number 6s here and here, and then there's 4 in the front, 2 on each side. And we're going to get that done. Also, when I put these back on, like most of these things, I think I'm doing about 15 Newton meters of torque on them. So just for the record, someone asked me that once. So on all these accessory pieces, I think I'm just doing like 15. Alright, I undid these 4, and also, just so you know, these have been soaking in PB Blaster for a while. So, man, this one here, man, I thought I was close. I thought that I was going to have a butter bolt there, but it was actually turning, so that's good. So now I'm going to do these 2. And I think maybe doing these bottom ones first before you do the top ones is a better idea, just because I feel like there's a lot of pressure on these, and I don't know, that might be why that other one just never came out for me ever, but... Alright, so I'm going to move up and do these 2, and I should be able to move the forks freely at that point. Alright, I went ahead and reduced a little bit of the jacking power underneath here, and the forks are under a little bit of tension now, so if you had all your bolts out or loosened up on a normal bike, but I have one stuck, so I can't do that, your forks would probably start moving freely right now, but in my case... I can see it's moving a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and just when I hit this, it's like moving the whole assembly of the bike down on the forks. So I'm going to work on that until I get my 52 millimeters on both sides, and then I will get back to you. Alright, I missed a bolt. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's this right here. This is a USB bracket that's holding everything up right now, so I'm loosening that. Alright, so I went ahead and got them both. I put them both at 48 inches, because the more I went, the more crazy they started looking. I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to see what it looks like at 48 first before I go too crazy, so that's as far as I want to go. So what I did first, I got this one to the right length, and I tightened it down a little bit to hold it in place. And then I set the other one to this one here exactly to the same length. And basically what you want to do to make it come out further, you just kind of pound a little bit here. To make it go in further, you pound it a little bit like that, and that's basically how you adjust, fine-tune it. So go ahead and tighten this back up and see what it looks like. Alright, got all the pinch bolts kind of half tight here so it'll hold in place. I'm going to torque them all down to 25 Newton meters, which is what is in the directions for when you change out your fork gators and you change all the stuff out. Pinch bolts here and here should be 25 Newton meters according to that document. Alright, I tightened up the 2 top pinch bolts to the correct torque, and then I sat on the bike and I rocked on it a little bit back and forth just to make sure everything was settling correctly in this area and the bottom was aligned and nothing was binding. So now I'm going to go ahead and torque down these bottom 4. Alright, everything is torqued down. All the pinch bolts are torqued down to 25 Newton meters. Next I'm going to do the handlebars. And also you should know that never put Loctite on those pinch bolts because they're just butter, right? And you don't want to make it any harder when you want to move them. And I've taken these things out so many times, it's just ridiculous. Or loosen them up. So next step is going to be to tighten the handlebars a little bit so I can maneuver the bike around and get it out of the front wheel chock so I can turn the wheel, put it up in a rear wheel stand, and then I'm going to correctly adjust the handlebars so that I can turn completely and they're not hitting the tank or anything like that. And then I'll work on the headlight and the other stuff. Alright guys, it's all put back together. It does look a little bit lower. It's not as low as I was hoping it would get. It's about 1 inch. My seat height is now right at 30 inches and the stock seat height is 31.2 inches. So let's see what happens after I ride it around a little bit and I get this thing broken in. I got on it and I bounced around a little bit and the shocks felt pretty good. So even though I didn't get as short as I wanted yet, the shocks are definitely going to be an improvement. I know that, so it was a good deal. And got the front lowered back down again, so it looks a little better. I think overall the entire process made it look better. Also, the old shocks were like 11 pounds together, and the new ones were like 7.5 to 8. So I saved, we'll call it 3 pounds by changing the shocks too. So it's another 3 pounds off. So I'm gonna give this thing a ride and see what's going on. Do you like? This is here starting to look a little bit crazy, so I'm gonna be able to go much lower on those without just looking absurd. But yeah, but it feels fine riding it, sitting on it. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.